Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome to our channel and thanks for logging on. If you enjoy these videos, do me a favor and subscribe to our YouTube channel right here at Watchbox Reviews. I would really appreciate it, and I promise to update daily. If you love this watch, you can see it and you can purchase it on our website, thewatchbox.com. And today we are discussing a watch that can be best described as an RM10 with a big date. This is the RM29, the big date automatic, launched in 2011. The timepiece is titanium, tonneau-shaped, iconic Richard Mille design, and very comfortable. On my 16cm circumference wrist, the watch is 48mm from lug to lug, but you can see that the tonneau is also cambered and curved to trace the arc of the wrist. Across the case, from what would conventionally be 9 to 3, not including the crown, it's 39mm, so it has a little bit of a fat rectangular profile in spite of the elliptical form of the tonneau. And then there is the 13mm thickness, which frankly surprised me because I expected something more like 15 or 16 just looking at the watch on the table. This is a surprisingly compact and wearable watch. There's the shape, there's the aspect ratio, there's the curvature of the case back, and of course there is the titanium, which is very light. It's grade 5 tie, so it's also exceptionally scratch resistant. When you look at the strap itself, it's nicely vented. First, it traces the arc of the case flank, swelling to match the swell of the case. There's even a little bit of the cutout or hollowing in the profile of the case that continues into the strap, so the design parallelism and continuity is excellent. You can see on the underside there is ventilation built into both sides so that it won't trap wrist heat. It's a very supple and soft strap, perhaps a little bit more so than I expected. The watch features a titanium double deployant that features an internal leaf spring, and you can see styled to the nth degree. It even includes the Richard Mille spline screws. This one will snap open or snap shut. It does not require a trigger system to remain resolutely closed, but it also gives you a little bit of assistance when you are removing it from the wrist. Richard Mille engraved, and as you can see, the spline screws continue in the flank, along with that hollow sort of evacuation that you find in both the strap and the case flank design. Richard Mille, nothing if not a great design house. Let's talk a little bit about the watch. The tonneau case is iconic, but I don't want to get too deep into this because it's general to so many Richard Mille watches. What I appreciate is that there is very little high polish on this case. Something like this with this kind of image and this kind of squared off proportions could be a bit obnoxious if it were all of high polish, did somebody say brightly? And then the watch features a wonderful vertical emphasis that I did not expect. As you can see, both the lip of the case back and the lip of the bezel are vertically satin finished. So too the lateral portion of the case. You can see the pillars built in that enclose the bodies of the spline screws, themselves composed of titanium. So the case is very literal. You see the construction, and there's not a whole lot more to it. In its way, it's sort of minimalist. The dial itself is handsome and surprisingly easy to read. If you like machines, you'll like this dial. If you like opening up a car hood on something pre-modern to be able to see the headers, the throttle body, intake manifolds, all the accessories, the accessory belts and drives. You don't like to see your engine under a plastic cover like seemingly everything made today. You're gonna love this particular watch because you can see the movement straight through the dial. There is an overlapping set of sapphires, one axis the crystal protecting the dial, and one axis the platform for the aperture for the double date, the platform on which the numerals are printed, and of course the RM29 script is printed on that lower sapphire. You can see there's a carbon fiber flange inboard that acts as a mounting point for the individual loomed indices of the day, and then you've got skeletonized hands at center that are also loomed. The base of the movement can be seen. It is a Vaucher base, but highly modified for Richard Mille. You can see that it is of grade 5 titanium, and it features a striking dark DLC coating that gives it more of a machine aesthetic than conventional titanium would. This looks even a little bit darker and more industrial. Appreciate the fact that you do have both stop seconds and a quick set date for that grand date or that big date, depending on what nomenclature you prefer. There will be a loom shot. It will be excellent. Turn it all over, and I would even say this aspect is more interesting than the dial because this is the business end of the movement. Getting a little bit closer. This is the Vaucher designed but highly modified Richard Mille caliber RMA-S7. So RMA-S7 is 32 joules, automatic winding, 55-hour power reserve with twin mainspring barrels, and you can see them sticking out on their skeletonized barrel bridge. It beats away at 28.8. It's shock resistant with a free sprung balance. You can see that they're actually little elastomers. They're like rubber donuts outboard, and those are shock absorbing mounts that join the movement plate to the case. So you have both the free sprung balance and the shock absorbers, plus the mass of the movement is very low, rendering it exceptionally shock resistant. Of course, you can see that we're using a free sprung balance here, and tastefully, Richard Mille has opted for clear sapphires to preserve the industrial techno aesthetic of the movement. So you've got the stop seconds, the quick set, you've got the 55-hour power reserve, the 4 Hz beat rate, the 5 position adjustment like a chronometer, and then you've got a titanium rotor. And if you look carefully, you can see that there are these variable geometry rotor wings, and what these actually do, they're made of white gold. They can be moved inward or outward to change the polar moment of the rotor. So if you're a desk diver like me and you tend to be sedentary at the office, you can actually have these set by your Richard Mille watchmaker to maximize the polar moment of the rotor and increase its winding vigor. If you're very active, you can have them withdrawn inward. Think of pulling your fists in as you spin on your axis when you're standing up. Pulling your fists in, you speed up, but you also have a smaller polar moment. The smaller polar moment is for those who need to preserve the movement because they're just that active. Of course, the movement is both titanium and skeletonized, which means it is very dramatic. You can see all the wheels, the pinions, the power source, and the train. And of course, the watch, 50 meters water resistant, it's surface swimmable. I would feel bad if a watch like this weren't. I wouldn't go diving with it, but you are okay to take this one surface swimming and into conventional aquatic activities at the pool or the beach. This is the Grand Date Richard Mille RM29. Basically your RM10 with a big date, and a big date is easier to read, making this a more practical RM10. See this RM29 and make it yours on the watch box. Richard Mille RM29, big date automatic.